Tonight on Cronkite News, graduation season is upon us. Find out how college seniors are marking the milestone while on a budget.
Plus, find out why veterans in Arizona are more likely than veterans in other states to develop a gambling addiction and what's being done to help them.
To say that I understood what I do now when I was 20 years old, I think would be a very ignorant answer.
And the former ASU swimmer at the center of a lawsuit over name, image, and likeness rights talks to Cronkite News about its impact on college athletes. Good evening, and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Ryan Pasesnik.
And I'm Emily Fox-Millian. Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with a leaked budget draft from the Trump administration. It reportedly shows a proposal to eliminate funding for a crucial suicide hotline dedicated to LGBTQ+ youth. Cronkite News reporter Ripley Simone Kennebrew spoke with a representative from the Trevor Project to learn more.
The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a crucial service for LGBTQ youth and now faces a possible elimination of all federal funding. The Trevor Project estimates that more than 1.8 million LGBTQ youth in the U.S. seriously consider suicide each year, and at least one person attempts suicide every 45 seconds. This funding provides an easy way for all Americans to find support and speak with someone when they are considering self-harm.
This funding cut goes through. It will eliminate a free service that has saved thousands and thousands of young people's lives. And that's what I'm really worried about, is when a young person is in crisis, will they have someone on the other end of that call to really talk them through and support them? I want to be really clear to all LGBTQ young people who are listening. No matter what happens with federal funding, the Trevor Project will always be here.
In 2018, according to the Williams Institute at the UCLA Law School, 45,000 LGBTQ youth were estimated to live in Arizona. And by the way, it was President Trump who signed the National Suicide Hotline Designation Act into law back in 2020, which made 988 the official crisis number. In the newsroom, Ripley Simone Kennebrew, Cronkite News.
This April, the National Council on Problem Gambling published a new study on the gambling behaviors of veterans in Arizona. Cronkite News reporter Nicole Macias-Garibai talked to experts about why this population is more vulnerable to developing a gambling addiction.
Gambling feels different for everyone.
Veterans in Arizona actually have a higher vulnerability to having mental health conditions, experiencing PTSD, military sexual trauma, anxiety, depression.
These behaviors make veterans in Arizona more susceptible to developing a gambling disorder, according to a new study by the National Council on Problem Gambling.
They tend to be very competitive. They want to win. They tend to be mission-driven, which means following the rules and sticking to it until the victory is yours.
When therapists understand who veterans are and their feelings, they can make treatment more culturally competent.
And there's a lot of shame and fear and stigma, right? And there's also consequences, right?
But treatment for gambling alone is not enough, according to the director of the Division of Problem Gambling in Arizona.
We also know that people often with gambling issues have co-occurring disorders. And so whether that be other addictions, alcohol, drugs, or other things that they may be involved in, those things tend to exacerbate one another.
At the Arizona Department of Gaming, they hope that efforts to raise awareness help build a brighter future for veterans. In Phoenix, Nicole Macias-Garibai, Cronkite News.
Veterans in Arizona can receive treatment for gambling problems through the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
There's a new acting police chief in Phoenix. Dennis Arender was sworn in earlier this week. He's a U.S. Air Force veteran with 30 years of experience in the department. He is now stepping up as Michael Sullivan steps down. A national search is back on for a permanent chief. Arender isn't in the running, but he will lead the department at least until July.
Graduation season is a time for celebration, but for some families, big parties can come with big price tags. Some students are finding creative, budget-friendly ways to mark the milestone. Reporter Alyssa Firestone shows us how some grads can skip the splurge and still make it meaningful.
From graduation cap and gowns to photographers.
A girl from my roommate's sorority took our pictures for us. Yeah, so it was pretty free.
The graduation cost can add up. But for some students, graduation celebrations don't have to be pricey to be memorable.
I'm having my party at my boyfriend's house in Tempe.
I have family that's visiting and they're renting out an Airbnb, and I'll be having a graduation party with my friends there.
And while reserving from an event venue can be a popular choice,
May is probably our busiest month of the year. People start booking at the beginning of the year when they know the graduation is coming up.
Amorosi says there are ways to do so without breaking the bank, such as booking from places that are nonprofit like the Tempe Event Center.
We want to help people that want to have a party, want to celebrate a great event in their family, but don't have the means to go all out with for-profit reception halls.
He adds that flexibility is key in making the experience more cost-effective.
They can make this as affordable as possible. If they have a relative that does catering, then they can just bring their relative in. We don't force them to use a certain caterer or bartending service. Everything is up to them.
According to one report from 2021, the average price of grad parties in Arizona was over $1,000, and that's not small change. Grads should be thinking about their next phase in life and not paying the bills for big grad celebrations. In Tempe, Alyssa Firestone, Cronkite News.
Other tips for saving money include co-hosting a party with friends to share costs, keeping the decorations to a minimum, and skipping printed invitations. Coming up next, a look at the news headlines from across the nation, including several states taking action against President Trump.
That's right, 12 states are taking President Trump to court. After the break, why they are suing the president and why they say he crossed the constitutional line, coming up.
Plus, we have a breezy weekend up ahead. Stay tuned to learn all you need to know.
This is where Cronkite can be creative.
The scientists and engineers that support the next mission to Mars could be in this class.
Getting a degree at ASU is a journey that can take you anywhere. Into a world of groundbreaking technology and renowned award-winning faculty. Professors who help you to impact the world. Whether you're on campus or at home, becoming your best starts with learning from the best.
Earlier today, Russia unleashed a wave of attacks on the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, killing at least 12 and injuring at least 90 others. President Trump criticized the move in a post on Truth Social and insists that both nations still want peace. Russian lawmakers, however, reiterated that Russia must first prioritize its own national interests.
We are thinking that very strongly that they both want peace, but they have to get to the table. We're waiting a long time. They have to get them to the table, and I think we're going to get peace.
This was Russia's deadliest assault on the Ukrainian capital since July. Ukrainian President Zelensky said the attack was one of Russia's, quote, most outrageous. Zelensky was on an official trip to South Africa at the time and cut his trip short in order to head back to Ukraine.
A dozen states are suing President Trump, claiming his tariffs on foreign imports are illegal. The lawsuit argues he overstepped by acting without Congress. Trump says he acted under the International Emergency Economics Power Act. It gives the president the power to respond to unusual and extraordinary threats. But the states say only Congress can set taxes and tariffs. Meanwhile, Trump says some tariff deals could wrap up in just a few weeks, well before his 90-day pause is up.
It's been 3 days since the passing of Pope Francis, and the Vatican just released an image of what the late Pope's final resting place will look like. Currently, the Pope's body is lying in St. Peter's Basilica. However, after his funeral on Saturday, they will transfer him. This comes despite Pope Francis's wishes to be buried in what he called a simple tomb. The tomb he will be resting in is instead one made of marble from northern Italy and will be inscribed with an image of the cross he wore both as an archbishop in Argentina and as Pope.
Maricopa and Pinal counties have some of the worst air pollution in the country. That's according to a new report from the American Lung Association. The two were among 26 counties in the report that received failing grades. The Lung Association's State of the Air report released yesterday stated the Metro Phoenix area has the fourth worst ozone pollution in the country. According to the report, 84% of Arizonans live in communities with at least one prominent unsafe pollutant. The national average is 46%. The Valley is experiencing some beautiful weather for the rest of the week, although we may have a breezy weekend on the horizon.
Ariel Nelson joins us now from the Cronkite Weather Center with what we can expect.
That's right. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Ryan. Welcome to the Cronkite Weather Center. Let's take a look at the rest of our evening before we take a look at some of those windy conditions that we'll be seeing later this weekend. We've got a pretty warm night up ahead of us. We're starting out around now at around 87 degrees, but by 9 o'clock, we're going to be making it down to 83 degrees. Not really any wind for tonight, especially when we get to 80 degrees at 10 o'clock tonight. Let's take a look at the low temperatures across our state. We've got a low of 53 degrees up in Page, 34 degrees in Window Rock, our state low at 32 degrees up in the Grand Canyon, which is actually just at freezing, and 63 degrees for our low here in Phoenix. We've got some warm temperatures up ahead of us tomorrow. We've got 64 degrees as our high in Flagstaff, 73 degrees up in Window Rock, 72 degrees in Show Low, and our state high at 93 degrees here in Phoenix. Like I said, we have a warm day up ahead of us. As you can see here, though, we are going to be dropping down to the high 70s on Sunday as a result of some of those breezy conditions that are coming our way. But I hope none of you got too excited or too disappointed, because we're popping back up into the 90s by Tuesday with a high of 90 degrees and a low of 60 degrees. And by Friday, we're making it all the way back up to 96 degrees with a low of 67 degrees. From the Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Ariel Nelson.
I'm Paisley Poole, and coming up next, we'll hear from ASU football as they wrap up their spring practices and deal with the newfound spotlight on their program.
They're so used to it, and it's good. They're used to, the noise of that, and they're going to have that the rest of their life. That's the new day and age.
Hear more from Kenny Dillingham coming up next in the Cronkite Sports Report.
You meet so many new people who are on different communities, and when you do that, you're able to network not only, but also get to engage, talk to people, and make life friends.
I think that definitely surprised me, the community that I would find, because I wasn't really expecting it.
Freedom.
Friendly. Nice. I'd say cozy.
This is where Cronkite can be creative.
Welcome to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Paisley Poole. Today is draft day in the NFL, where franchises across the league are gathered in Green Bay to select players who they think will make a difference for their franchise. Tonight, there will be another player added to the list of recent first-round draft picks for the Cardinals, but let's take a look back at the Cardinals' recent activity in round one. Starting with 2024, the Cardinals selected Marvin Harrison Jr. and Darius Robinson. In 2023, they used their pick on Paris Johnson. Skipping to 2021, they selected Zaven Collins at 16. And going back to 2020, they used the pick on Isaiah Simmons. Looking at the list, their last three first-round classes are set to be franchise cornerstones, with the jury still being out on Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons no longer with the team. Now let's take you to Tempe, where the ASU Football Fan Fest is set to take place tomorrow at Mountain America Stadium. Gates are set to open at 5 p.m. with the Family Fun Zones presented by Smashburger Open. Those zones will include fun activities such as ninja courses, a dunk take, and a football skills zone. All of that will be followed by a Cheer 101 course done by the ASU Cheer Squad at 5:30. And at 6 p.m., football activities will commence until 7:30. The night's festivities ending with the fireworks show presented by Multi-Pro Roof Solutions. Spring football has been well underway for the Sun Devils, and after their Big 12 championship last season, the media presence surrounding them is only growing. Cronkite News reporter Genaro Garcia went out to spring practice to see how the media may be affecting ASU football, or not.
Lights, cameras, and action. Media presence is only growing around the ASU football team after last season's national championship run. You could think that the team is feeling the pressure, but with the loud, energetic vibes at practice, they seem more ready than ever. And Coach Kenny Dillingham talked about how he wants his team to treat this scenario.
They're so used to it, and it's good. They're used to, the noise of that, and they're going to have that the rest of their life. That's the new day and age. So my biggest thing is we're not going to hide from it. We're not going to hide from the new normal. We're going to embrace the new normal.
Sam Levitt, the starting QB who is only entering his sophomore year, is a player people could question about his maturity towards the media due to his underclassman status. However, his cool, calm, collected persona begs to differ.
If that was a problem, I don't know if we'd have the dreams and aspirations that we do, but no, our guys, they always stay locked in, and, I never let the media, affect me, and it's never been a problem for our guys, and I don't think it will at any point, so, I'm not too worried about all that.
The tunnel vision focus that this team carries is not just shown by the leaders of the team, but also by those who protect the leaders, such as center Ben Coleman, who talked about the team's priorities during the spring.
We just want to get better each and every day. I think that's most important, especially when you come off a championship. That's something that we know. We have to establish as a different team.
The team is not letting the heavy media attention get to them as they look to make another run at not just a Big 12 championship, but a national championship as well. In Tempe, Genaro Garcia, Cronkite News.
ASU football continues to prepare for their first game of the season against Northern Arizona University on August 30th. College athletes are about to get paid directly by their universities. That's if a California judge approves a landmark multi-billion-dollar settlement of 3 separate antitrust cases against the NCAA. One of the lead plaintiffs is a former ASU swimmer. Andres Armenta caught up with the man who started it all.
Nearly 200 days ago, a district judge in California gave preliminary approval to House versus NCAA, a $2.8 billion settlement that will transform the landscape of collegiate athletics once again.
It was never a matter of if, it was a matter of when this change was going to happen.
Former ASU swimmer Grant House is the lead plaintiff in the case that not only gives back pay damages to collegiate athletes who played prior to name, image, and likeness compensation, it also grants current student athletes a percentage of media revenue. House believes proper compensation promotes individual development.
They can promote themselves in other ways. They can uplift their other skills, traits, and aspects that they care about, their other purposes, passions, and whys.
The settlement also calls for roster limits, a sticking point for Judge Claudia Wilkins, who wants lawyers in the case to work out more details on the issue that essentially limits the amount of student athletes that can be on scholarship for each individual sport.
It's really the way
that these roster limits are being implemented, right? The sudden implementation, right? The no sunsetting, no phasing in approach that will leave thousands of mostly walk-on, partial scholarship, and even scholarship athletes at risk.
Parents of current student athletes have sent letters to Judge Wilkins expressing their concern. Coaches are already bracing for the potential impact. For football, it would limit the amount of roster spots to 105, where the average size has been 120.
We've already informed some of the guys that, they're not going to be in the 105. And that was just because, you don't have to tell them until August. Well, they can't transfer in August. So you're just going to tell a kid in August he can't play football? And then it uses a year of eligibility? That's wrong.
Roster disagreements aside, additional changes include a $20.5 million cap for athletic departments to pay all their student athletes directly.
We'll move to, as close to an employment contract, but not an employment contract, because they won't be employees. They'll still be athletes and student workers.
And athletes will still be able to make money from NIL deals or third-party sources. The settlement simply adds structure to the revenue-sharing model and NIL deals. But you can bet the richest schools will still have an easier time recruiting top talent. Still, uncharted waters for all involved.
To say that I understood what I do now when I was 20 years old, I think would be a very ignorant answer.
If approved, the settlement will take effect on July 1st, allowing student athletes to earn compensation while also implementing some structure.
I certainly don't think this is the final step by any means. I certainly hope it isn't, because there's a lot more that athletes need access to and can access and should have partnering with, voices in, ownership in, and should be walking alongside rather than behind or below.
One thing is clear. Collegiate athletics will embark on another monumental change. In Tempe, Andres Armenta, Cronkite News.
Last night, the Diamondbacks played their second game of a 6-game homestand, continuing their 3-game series against the Rays. The game went to extra innings, where the Diamondbacks would fall 6-7 after failing to tie the game in the bottom of the 11th, evening the series at 1-1. D-backs fans still had something to cheer for despite the loss, as right fielder Corbin Carroll hit 2 home runs, including a leadoff homer in the first inning, which he then followed up with a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 7th inning. That would give the D-backs the lead in the bottom of the 7th. Carroll's impressive day at the office has earned himself a top spot in many stat categories across the MLB. Carroll is now 4th in hits with 33, tied for 3rd in runs with 23, tied for 5th in RBIs with 22, and most notably, tied for 1st in home runs with 9 on the year. Carroll is having a stellar start to the year after what many called a down year last season, and is on pace to be top 5 in plenty of statistical categories. That's it for the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Paisley Poole, sending it back to you guys at the desk.
Coming up next, NASA releases new space images to celebrate a historic milestone.
That's right, NASA is celebrating the anniversary of one of its most famous space telescopes. Find out more when we return.
This is where Cronkite can be creative.
The scientists and engineers that support the next mission to Mars could be in this class.
Getting a degree at ASU is a journey that can take you anywhere. Into a world of groundbreaking technology and renowned award-winning faculty. Professors who help you to impact the world. Whether you're on campus or at home, becoming your best starts with learning from the best.
Today marks the 35th anniversary of the Hubble Space Telescope entering Earth's orbit.
And to celebrate, NASA has released new images taken by the telescope.
These new images include pictures of Mars, star formations, and a nearby galaxy. During its time in low orbit, the telescope has made over 1 million observations and has been behind many discoveries in our universe. Fragments of an old letter are changing how people are viewing William Shakespeare's marriage to Anne Hathaway.
Experts now believe the two were more happily married than previously thought. Hathaway and Shakespeare got married in 1582 and had 3 children together. For centuries, experts thought that William Shakespeare left his family behind when he moved to London. However, new findings from the University of Bristol showed that the couple actually lived together for a period of time around the year 1600. Experts also believe this could lead to more revelations about the playwright's life.
That's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Ryan Posesnik.
And I'm Emily Foxmillian. Thank you for joining us. And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.